Hi, this is Pete,
Hi, this is Sandra,
and we are Medievalist.net.
and today we're going to talk to you about another exciting episode of
Game of Thrones.
So this week we had no Dany, but we did have a lot of King's Landing, a lot of Jon and Ygritte,
Yes, and a few other scattered
a
characters.
few other loose ends tied up. So what do you think of what's going on between Ygritte and Jon and their adventure to the Wall?
Well, I actually, this was probably one of the parts I enjoyed the most about the episode was it was really good to kind of see them kind of connecting, I guess, falling in love, and how she has this kind of northernly women aspect to things. So it was kind of cool to see like they kind of reach like we have kind of a summer where they actually reach the top of the wall. Although I think the CGI on that last scene was left something to be desired. Otherwise, though, I really liked kind of like the interplay between the two characters and the kind of bit of an adventure like getting up that wall. So
I really liked the CGI along the wall. I thought the scaling the wall was really cool, really well done. And I also like the fact that they both kind of agreed to pledge loyalty to each other, that they realize that she realizes that the wildlings and Mance Rayder don't care if she lives or dies. And she realizes he's still a crow at heart, but he knows that the, what do you call it? The Watch realize that they don't care if Jon lives or dies, so they basically, she's like, I'm your woman now.
it's like
Be loyal to me, and you see that when they have a near-death experience, scaling the wall, and this guy tries to kill them, and then they fight to the death to keep each other alive. Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
The kind of show where like they have to depend on each other. Like they have realized, like basically they're the only two that mean something to each other, and they have to kind of fight for each other. So that's kind of cool, and gives them a good story. So
right, yeah. So I thought it was really good. Meanwhile, way south in King's Landing, we have a whole bunch of interesting developments. Some rather interesting conversations between Tywin and Elena Redwyn, Loris's grandmother. Interesting snippet of Joffrey and just how psychotic he's gotten. You know who that was?
Yeah, that was the what prostitute? I don't remember her name, but
it was Littlefinger's favorite.
Yeah, the one that came from the north originally, and but I know, and I'm sure you guys will comment and let us know exactly her name is. But first of all, I really like the kind of scene, Tywin's scene here. He was. It was really,
he was like blackmailing her.
Yeah, and she was impressed by him, and and I like that scene of give and take, because those were, I think a lot maybe people were been waiting to see how those two interplay.
Right.
They beyond that, kind of great scenes, Tyrion and
Cersei.
Yeah, thank you. Tyrion and Cersei kind of
both realizing they're screwed.
Woe is me.
She said, "Oh, we're going to hell together," and Tyrion quips about how he doesn't know who's getting of the four of them the worst of this deal, because all of them are going to be miserable. And then you have a picture of those two commiserating, and then Loras and Sansa, unbeknownst to them really what's going on. Sansa's still irritating the living hell right out of me. With her flowers and brocades and dresses and weddings and utter just nonsense, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
I actually enjoyed watching her cry when Littlefinger's ship sailed and she realized, I'm so dumb, I could have been on that boat.
Hey, she should be lucky not to be on Littlefinger's boat, as we can see what happens to those other girls.
Right.
Man, I felt like that Littlefinger, he really came off as an evil guy, like as one of the, before up to this point, he was a villain, but man, he really took it up a step further, like in kind of talking about, it's almost like he's that.
Why would you say that?
He seems to have that just a much more cruel streak in him, for having King Joffrey killed his prostitute.
He didn't know that.
Oh, he knew.
No, he didn't.
Littlefinger?
No. He didn't know that. That was sort of that whole point of that snippet in that scene.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that. Who's in what's going on there.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
I don't think he knows that
like
yet. I think he's going to find out after.
Yeah.
I think Varys and Littlefinger are kind of, that's why they're always goading each other. And I just thought all the conversations in King's Landing, it was more of, a conversational show, but I really, really enjoyed the little...
Well, it was really good how we got. It was a real. They spent a good time at King's Landing, and it kind of like it seemed like the second half of the episode was just kind of concentrated on what was going on there. We kind of saw progression of one speech leads to something, which leads to another, which eventually kind of we see that Sansa's learns her fate and
It's interesting developments in King's Landing, but now also other things that are getting sort of wrapped up. Melisande ends up, the priestess of R'hllor ends up in Arya's camp, and we learn a little bit more about Thoros of Myr and her captors, and she instantaneously takes a dislike to Melisande. She kind of sees her for who she really is and calls her a witch. Then we have Jaime and Brienne talking to Roose Bolton and him agreeing to let them go.
Yeah, that's the we had Theon torture porn.
Yep, Theon.
Which, again, which was, to me, it was a waste of time to just
have a little snippet of Sam Tarly out in the woods with that girl. Singing songs around a campfire. That was sort of a throwaway scene for me.
Yeah, that was kind of an odd way to begin. It seemed just a boring scene.
So I mean,
look, there are all sorts of little scenes there. Like
Bran.
Bran's scene was somewhat forgettable again.
Somewhat forgettable. I think the main two interest points of this episode happen to be North of the Wall and King's Landing.
But overall, I enjoyed this episode.
No Stannis, no Dany, so...
Overall I enjoyed this episode, though.
Even Rob's scenes, although Rob's scenes were interesting, I do have to point out the one other interesting scene was Rob at the Freys, how they were negotiating this marriage alliance, and he actually turns to his uncle and he says, I realize you're paying for my sins, and I'm forcing you to marry some... buck ugly Frey woman.
Wow. Well, you know what?
That we get more men. Pretty shady.
I don't know how many times he said, "I'm winning every battle, but losing the war." But that's his new catchphrase. I think that's
it's not winter's coming. It's I'm winning every battle, but losing the war. Robb Stark, come join my army.
So.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show, but I have to agree with you that the best two parts were Jon and Ygritte, and then all the sort of devious plots and Viper's Den that is King's Landing, and watching Sansa cry. Always.
Okay.
So tune in with us, I guess, next week for more plotting, excitement,
more fun games, and enjoy. And hope you're enjoying it on Game of
Thrones.